So Jonathan, you're very tech forward with your firm, which I think is kind of cool. It's kind of like all over your website and everything. So tell me what you're doing. Like I want to hear some of the things you're doing that's pretty cool.
Well, we've always tried to be progressive, whether it becomes tech or how we like treat the attorney-client experience. So I'm always trying to push the envelope. Obviously, AI is everywhere, so we're trying to be on top of things when it comes to AI, but also trying to kind of toe the line when it comes to what's acceptable, what's ethical and not ethical. So that's still kind of like a slippery slope. But when it comes to obviously like client management software, developing like a modern law office with all the bells and whistles and technology and stuff that presents itself. But really just trying to stay on top of things because it's such an ever-changing, quick-changing world. But just trying to learn as much as I can. AI, I think, is obviously a big part of the tech piece of it. And, I'm doing online webinars and I'm trying to get to like seminars all over the place to just stay on top of things. But like, I feel like, especially when it's AI, you feel like you're on top of it. And then you hear about something else that AI can do and you're like, holy shit, I didn't even think of that.
It's changing every 7 months. It's really kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Are you doing anything with AI that's like more client facing that they actually see?
Not really. Again, at this point, we're just trying to kind of experiment a lot. Different aspects of AI that are available through our client management software, using it when it comes to like getting clients in the door and marketing and utilizing chat boxes on our website with AI. But I'm a little hesitant to give it too much rope because I still want to, stick to our roots and, really continue to develop what's gotten us the success. And that's the people that work with us and the people that, our attorneys and our staff. And I feel like if you kind of let go of those values too much, you can slip into this world of AI, which is obviously efficient and, super smart, but you're kind of losing that human touch, which is at the center of a attorney-client relationship, which I never want to lose.
Right. Do you all bill or bill by the hour? Or is it flat
Yeah,
rate?
we bill by the hour.
Have you found that it's allowed you to bill more, or is it allow you to save clients money? Have you noticed any difference on that yet?
Well, that's the question. It certainly could obviously do things in a fraction of the time that humans can do, but I still think you need humans to go through it to make sure it's right. I would never trust, a review of someone's bank accounts or some discovery production and just kind of trust what the computer spits out without having to go through it ourselves.
Yeah.
And even, perhaps drafting questions that you would ask in a deposition or outlines to prepare for a trial or hearing. Yeah, it's a good thing to get you kind of going, but you still need the human element to review it and make sure it's obviously part of your own style too. So that's all part of it.
So we have it built in where it helps us answer discovery responses. Have you ever heard of Even Up Law? Even Up is
No.
They've got I think they kind of consider it like a case management system in a way, but it's more advanced than that.
Right.
Where they've got it built in where it helps answer discovery responses. Where it's really good at both for Even Up Law. They showed me a demo, but we built our own out.
Right.
Where it'll get you, I don't know, 80% of the way there, but you still have to put your eyeballs on it because it's not 100%. So it does reduce time, but we don't. For us, we don't bill. We're PI, so
Right.
we
No,
don't
totally
bill.
different.
So we got to move quick. I do wonder when it comes to like billable hour firms if it might make sense eventually to switch to like more of like a flat rate because you're the model shift.
That's because right. I mean, if you could have something drafted via AI in 45 seconds that would normally you'd bill 10 hours for,
Right.
The question becomes again the ethical part of it. Like I can tell you, at least in the counties we practice in, judges don't want to be reading AI generated stuff. The question then becomes, can they even tell the difference? Because AI is becoming so much more developed that, you can tell it to write in your own writing style.
Exactly right.
So it's impossible to decipher what's true AI and what's really being done, and if it's a combination of both. Obviously, there's something has to change down the road. But I agree, when you could do things in a fraction of the time that you would normally do it, one, is that acceptable to clients because they're paying you to do the work? And two, if you do it, even if you do develop it, you can't just blindly sign it and put a stamp on it from
Right.
in the clerk's office. So I don't know if that'll ever change. And obviously with the litigation aspect, of course, you got to get in front of a judge and litigate and cross-examine and do all those things, which at least as of now, I don't think a robot can do. But you never know what's coming.
You never
Before
know.
we know it, I hope we have jobs.
You just gave me an idea. So I've got this Claude skill where it speaks in my voice, and it's more for like drafting emails to clients and things like that, or creating content. It is interesting. Let's say you were like a phenomenal writer, and you probably are. So let's say you're just a phenomenal, and I want to steal your writing style. I could take all of your pleadings that you file. I could find all your cases online, scan them all in, and I could just I could write like you automatically.
100%.
You just create a skill. I could just create the Jonathan skill, and that could be my writing style.
It's happening. I'm sure.
Yeah. That's crazy. What do you think about all these attorneys that are getting in trouble for these cases that they're filing motions with fake cases on them?
Honestly, I think it's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
What can really result of the AI? I mean, it's a double-edged sword, of course, for economy and saving time and being more productive. Sure, I get it. It makes sense. It could do things that we cannot do as humans with the brains we have. But I just think there's a slippery slope because maybe it's not always perfect. And the one time it's not perfect, or you're getting yourself into trouble because there's bullshit citations or something. And it's like convenient. Well, it wasn't me. This is just what got generated. And you kind of back yourself into a corner. So, again, like any advancement in technology, there's tons of benefits, but I think there's definitely concerns, especially ethically, when you're dealing with the law.
So we contract out some of our motion practice, and so not all of it, just some of it.
Yeah.
And like for like overflow stuff, so we'll contract it out, and we have this process where nothing has come up yet. We actually thought there was one case where I was furious because I thought it was a fake case, and they ended up finding the actual case. It was like some obscure case.
Right.
But I was like, because I thought it was AI, I was pissed. I was like, we're done with them. Right. They were like scrambling. No, it's a real case. But we have this because sometimes if we'll get the motion back, one of our attorneys will look at it and they're like, okay, it looks good. But we have part of the process. We have them check every single case. Because I don't trust anybody.
Yeah, right.
Check every single one to make sure it's a real case. Because it terrifies me.
Oh my God! And you can get so burned.
Oh my God!
I mean, it works both ways. Your cases, the cases the other side is citing, which could turn a decision one way or another if it's a bullshit case that doesn't exist. I mean, it's definitely a new frontier when it comes to that. I mean, before when I was going to law school, you're like shepherdizing, you're looking in law, you're looking in like old statute books and case books and Northeast Second or whatever it's called. Those days are over.
The red flag, the yellow flag, the green flag. Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
Right,
yes.
Exactly. Red flag if it's been open. Bad law. Like that's what I remember about law school. I mean, I don't even know how you even teach stuff like that. And that gets me to other stuff I talk about is how does this change like curriculums in law school too?
Like, how should we design law schools now? What do you think?
I don't know. If anyone who follows me on LinkedIn knows that I think law school is just complete nonsense. I mean, there are things, of course, some benefits to it, but
what are your thoughts on that? Like some people think like there should be like some minimum standard, right? You have to be able to meet the minimum standard, and it's almost law school is almost like a way of sort of filtering out the people that can't. People. Like what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, I understand you need to like go through the gauntlet of law school and like the gauntlet of the bar exam to kind of get to be able to practice. But my problem is with like the practicality of the law school curriculum. I don't understand why they're still teaching so much nonsense about cases that, are ancient history. And I get maybe that's like the basis of your knowledge and your thinking and training your brain to become a lawyer. But there's just no practical component to law school outside of like a moot court or whatever law review, maybe for drafting. But no one knows how to like actually run a business, how to develop a law firm, how to actually see how law works in an office setting there's just they teach you maybe like thinking about a lawyer, but not being a lawyer. So
what's interesting about that is if you look at like the rankings, right? Everyone looks at the USA Today or US, was it not
the US News or whatever it is?
The rankings of law schools.
Yeah.
The schools that are more practical skills based are in the like fourth tier. Right. The ones that are more theory based are in the high end. So it's almost like the whole system around it is built to be the more theoretical one and not the real world hands-on experience one.
Yeah, I don't understand how there can't be at least 40% of law school curriculum teaching you, how law firms work, what it's like to be in a law firm. Because they're really not necessarily, other than like a clinic maybe they have in the law school, like they're really not pushing you too much to get jobs and to learn and to integrate that into the curriculum. They're certainly not teaching you the business aspect of law,
Not
like
at all.
getting paid, running a law firm, creating a law firm. Like every student should be required to go through a class that teaches you how to start a law firm and, the business aspect of a law firm. But no one even touches on that as far as I know.
So we had we had law practice management, but even then, so it's funny. My former co-host, that Jim Hacking, and I, we started this back in 2016.
Yeah.
So he and I did this. And he stopped in 2024, but he was my law practice management professor. He was an adjunct.
Oh, cool.
And it was kind of cool because like he brought in every week. What he did was he brought in a different attorney, another solo attorney or small firm attorney, and they taught a different aspect of the class. It was a brilliant way of doing it.
Cool.
It was really
That's
cool.
the way to do it.
It was very hands-on, yes.
That's who you want to learn from.
Yeah, but it was one class.
Right.
Just one class.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm saying there should be so many different parts about it. Like, the finance part, starting the law firm. Even, as far as I know, it's just like off people's radar when they become a lawyer, but just like, hiring, marketing, all these things. Those don't, as far as I know, again, I haven't been to law school since 2002, but I don't know of any curriculum that stresses that stuff.
I don't either, but I've heard rumblings that the curriculum has started to shift in a lot of law schools to make it more hands-on and practical.
Okay.
So I think
that makes sense.
Yes, but if it's even remotely like how you and I learned, like, so I graduated in 2010. So you were 2002, I was 2010.
Yeah.
If it's even remotely like that, it's so far behind the times with AI right now. It's so far behind the times.
I think just the legal industry in general is behind the times.
Yeah, and it's traditional. Traditionally it's been that way.
I understand it, but they got to start adapting a little, and it's good to hear that they might be based on what you said.
Yeah, I do wonder, like, what are some of your major rants on LinkedIn then?
I just talk about just the stupidity of law school.
Yep.
And it doesn't really matter where you went to law school. When I hire, I'm not looking really at people's law school or their grades in law school. So again, I think a lot gets, stuck on people who are considering going to law school. Like, I got to go to good law school. I got to go get a good, score on the LSAT. And I understand, like, that's how the world works, of course. But I don't necessarily think it translates into your success as an attorney once you pass the bar.
Right.
If you're a hustler, you're working your ass off, you're personable, you know how to get clients, you know how to network, you know how to market. Like, I'll take that person who got C's in law school over, the straight A student from Harvard who, has been buried behind a computer and is scared to kind of do anything.
Well, how do you interview for that, though? I 100% agree with you. How do you interview for it?
Well, it depends what type of position you're interviewing for. Obviously,
let's say it's an attorney.
Like an entry-level person, you kind of got to gauge how the interview goes and, get to know the person. I like just, bullshitting with the person instead of asking these, old questions that you would get in like a standard job interview. I'd like just getting to learn about them as a person. What do they do for fun? What's their social life? Just kind of getting to know the person, and then when you engage them more like a person, I think you get a better idea of how they would act, when they're not just stuck in a courtroom. And again, there's just so much more to the practice of law when it comes to the business of law. And I, hit the lawyers in my firm over the head with this. Like, you are your own entity within the umbrella of Merel Family Law. So treat it like that. I'll give you all the resources you need to market yourself, to build your own personal brand within our brand. And that ultimately, at the end of the day, is what translates to success. You want them to be able to bring in business. You want them to be able to know how to talk to clients and talk to potential clients. And I just think a lot of that gets lost in the shuffle because there's the focus on, well, what law school did they go to and what were their grades? At the end of the day, sure, that might be might give you an idea as to how intelligent they are, but intelligence doesn't necessarily equate to being the best lawyer out there.
Not at all. More emotional intelligence. I think that's a really good one.
Right, that's true.
How do you balance them, marketing their own entity inside the firm, and then them getting the work done?
Sure. Well, look, it's a balance. And, a lot of times networking, and that takes place outside of regular office hours. Although, I encourage people who are in networking groups to like use our office to host things, or, we kind of have a unique office set up with like a bar in it and a whole lounge area and a whole thing. It's kind of a different twist on what a law firm perception is. But I created the space with the vision of kind of utilizing it as a way to connect people, for people to kind of bring referral sources in, or host networking groups or charity events, or, board meetings and stuff. So I kind of give them the tools, along with obviously supporting them to join bar associations, charity boards, stuff like that, so they can, get the word out and expand their network and ultimately have it translate into business. While, again, obviously they have their responsibilities as the lawyer for the firm and billing and stuff like that, but I incentivize them to bring in their own business. They get a cut of cases they originate, so it kind of all works together.
I'm very interested about your background, because I've got a note in my insight brief about you that I think it's a quote from you about not having any interest in wearing a boring tie and a boring suit and going into a boring office. So tell me about your background. Like, what do your parents do?
My father was a criminal defense attorney. My uncle was a lawyer. So, I mean, I was surrounded by the law, but never obviously family law was never part of it. How
do you go from criminal? You do have the criminal defense mentality, I can tell.
Kind of just fuck it kind of mentality. But anyways, I played the game for 20 years. I was litigating for 20 years. I was wearing a suit and tie, going to court every day. And obviously I started my firm almost 18 years ago, but I just had a different vision of why does everything have to be so stuffy? I understand etiquette and courtrooms and, making sure that, court's a serious place. So I'm not suggesting lawyers should go in shorts and a t-shirt to court, because they shouldn't.
I do know a criminal defense attorney that would regularly wear painter's pants to court.
I've seen they're always criminal defense attorneys.
Yeah, always criminal defense attorneys, yes.
I mean, obviously you have a decorum, and, it's a serious place that deserves the respect, and the judges deserve the respect, so you should dress appropriately. So I'm not saying that, but I just think sometimes, especially in family law, lawyers take on this personality that they have to be so intense and serious. And look, there's a time and place for all of it. But I think just kind of relaxing a little in how you practice, how you meet clients, not always thinking you have to be in a suit and tie, or, be in this stuffy office with, small dark rooms, and, just that intense feeling that, again, people who are encountering lawyers often for the first time can be intimidated by.
Yep.
And again, there's a time and place for the tradition of law, and obviously keeping up the decorum of a courtroom. I understand all that, but I just think sometimes it's too much, and to be able to kind of chill out a little, I think clients appreciate that, employees appreciate that, prospective employees appreciate that. And again, I don't let anyone just wear whatever they want around the office. Again, when there's clients there, you have to go to court, you have to dress appropriately. But eventually, I just think there's been a more relaxing of everything, whether it be because of COVID and, Zoom court and all that. I don't know. But I've kind of understood it and always thought that it doesn't have to be so serious.
Do you have a dress code whenever a client comes in?
Yes. Clients can't just wear jeans and a t-shirt or something.
What, so if a client comes in, you can't wear that, like what you're wearing right now?
I'll wear a jacket.
Okay.
I mean, I'm kind of make myself the exception, whether I like it or not. I mean, I'll wear a collared shirt or a jacket, and but I'm really not getting suited up as much. Yeah. I'm not going to court as much as I used to either, but that could be part of it. But
maybe it's just the PI turn in me. I'm not dressing up to a client meeting. They know that about me.
Well, I think that's great. Again, I'm not wearing a suit and tie.
Yeah.
If I'm in a t-shirt, with a jacket over it, that's fine. But I think years ago, that wasn't even a question. I was in a suit and tie. Mm-hmm. They expected you to be in a suit and tie, and I'm not sure they really give a shit if you're in a suit and tie or not. I don't care what they're wearing.
The Cordell and Cordells of the world, I understand that they do. They kind of want you to suit in the office at all times.
Yes.
Yeah. We're just not built
Again,
that way.
You could do it either way. Yeah. I don't think a client is going to be offended, really. And if they are, they're probably not the right client, or they're probably not the right person. But I just think in this day and age, everything's kind of more relaxed. Clothing, like the idea of like, clothing like this didn't exist before. Where
true.
you could wear like a, Vory shirt or aloe pants or like a hoodie and make it look somewhat presentable.
Completely.
And like performance suits, those kind of things didn't exist. It was the stuffy old suit and tie, with the shiny shoes. I just think the society, and I think the law has gone with it a little bit. Doesn't, not everyone's expected to be so dressed up, at least outside of a court.
Yeah. Why didn't you go to the criminal defense route, I wonder?
I've never had interest in it. I didn't even know I wanted to be a lawyer. I was finishing up school in Madison, and I didn't know what to do. I thought law school could be a stepping stone for something. I didn't know what I wanted to do exactly. I thought, I had some interest in the law, but not criminal law. I mean, I just said, we had like, the phone ringing all night from the jail calling collect.
Oh, it was yes, I did criminal defense for a while.
Yeah, like, just some shady characters, and it wasn't for me.
On the phone at 2 a.m. with the bail bondsman.
We dealt with all that stuff. But my first year of law school, towards the end of the year, I got a job as a law clerk at a family law firm. And I'm like, it just kind of clicked, because I really didn't want to do something like transactional or repetitive. And I love the interaction with people because I'm a social person, and just the idea of helping people out of like shitty situations, and, helping people who are abused, or just kind of, it's crazy. Just hearing like crazy stories keeps you interested. It's never dull. And that was my first job. And I mean, that's literally all I know at this point.
Did you go to law school at UW? Is that where you went?
No, I went to Chicago, Kent.
I was curious because like UW, they don't take the bar exam, right?
No, they don't. If you want to practice in Wisconsin.
That's pretty nice little perk.
Pretty crazy.
That's pretty good.
I know. That's crazy. Is there any other state? I think Wisconsin.
Not that I know of. I mean, it's a pretty damn good perk.
It's insane. I can't imagine. I mean, look, that's almost like the rite of passage to becoming a lawyer. I couldn't think. I'll never forget how miserable that summer was studying for the bar exam.
Yeah.
Just like my friends are out having the best time, and it's like 3 years after college, and they're running around like crazy, and I'm like ready to kill myself.
So did you do Barbary back then?
Yes.
Oh, it's interesting. So we have a couple law clerks that they're studying for the bar exam.
Yeah.
They don't do it like they used to. Like you go in person for Barbary. It's all online.
Oh, and you just go at your own pace?
There's more competitors now. It's not just Barbary anymore. And it is 100% at her own pace. I would die.
Oh, I couldn't handle that.
I need to go into that.
I thought Barbary was, Barbary was started by a professor at Chicago Kent.
I did
Richard
not know that.
Convisor.
Yeah.
So
Convisor, Convisor.
He was my professor in law school. So that was like kind of instilled in everyone to do Barbary. But you had to go in the morning, and then you'd study in the afternoon. I can't imagine not having like the regimen of having to go. I would have been in big trouble. I
can't either, because like they spoon fed it to you.
Right.
And I'm assuming they probably do the same thing online, but you have to sit down to do it. And that is, I don't know. I really don't know if I could do it.
I don't either.
I just don't know if I could do it.
I don't know if I could take another test, period.
Yeah.
I've heard of some of my like colleagues who have, taken the bar exam in Florida recently, and they like failed a couple times because they don't know what it's like to take a test.
Yes.
In 20 years.
It's different.
I can't even imagine.
What's interesting is they've got, what do they call it? The next one's going to be the next gen or whatever.
Yes.
So they still have the uniform bar exam.
Right.
But they're also, you have the option now of taking the uniform or the next gen, which it's like, what?
It's crazy.
Like, why wouldn't you? Because I guess
that could work in multiple states.
Yes, but not like there's only a few states apparently that have accepted the next gen. So I'm like, why would you just stick with the uniform bar exam then? Because it's accepted in more states.
That makes no sense.
That's like,
I feel like eventually, I don't know, maybe I feel like states are kind of picky of the more desirable states like California, Florida, New York, those are always going to be more stringent, and I don't know.
I'm surprised that Illinois is not a little more stringent with Chicago, because you've got Texas, California, and New York I've heard are the hardest.
Yeah.
And you'd think that with Chicago being one of the largest cities in the country.
Yeah, for now. People are flocking away from the city lately.
Oh, are they?
I mean, Chicago's people freak out about the crime and the taxes, and the economy is kind of a mess. The state income tax is high. Chicago's a great city, don't get me wrong.
Beautiful, yeah.
More people are moving out than they're coming in. But, yeah, you would think it would be a little harder, but I guess not.
Is that good or bad for business?
I think obviously the bigger the population, the more potential divorcees we have.
Well, I didn't know if maybe competition goes down or something.
Maybe. I mean, it kind of weeds out people, maybe. That's something, that's interesting. I didn't think about it that way. But, yeah, I mean, business has grown. I mean, again, we target certain demographics. But, I think business is steady, and we've grown every year pretty much. So that's good. But, I mean, Chicago, they say, at least maybe it's more to the state of Illinois. People are leaving. That's one of the most mass exodus states lately is Illinois. But.
Well, Chicago's such a massive city compared to like St. Louis.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, like the greater metro area of St. Louis is pretty big, but the city itself is only like the hundreds of thousands.
Sure.
How do you market? How do you differentiate yourself in such a big market?
I think you have to distinguish yourself. Chicago's a big city, but it's kind of like a small community. I feel like, if you've lived in Chicago your whole life or here, it's like a big city, but it's a small city. I feel like people know each other. And I think if you do good work and obviously market yourself the right way and continue to grow and build, there's probably only a handful of family law firms in Chicago that have like 20 or more lawyers. So if you become one of those, I feel like, you're kind of at the top of your game when it comes to it. And again, whether you're a smaller firm or a larger firm, it's a small community of family law attorneys, even attorneys in general. I mean, you just see people, over the course of your career that or you knew because everyone kind of grew up here. But it is a big city, but it has that small feel sometimes where everyone knows everybody.
Yeah, you family law attorneys have such a small community because anyone that tries to pop into your all's little world, it's like a meat grinder, and you shoot them out the other end.
Well, it is hard to get into. I couldn't imagine trying to break in at this point. Although people do, and God bless them, it's hard. But it's hard because you want to develop a reputation that is a good reputation, not just among the clients and the population and the reputation you have to the general public, but also to obviously other attorneys, whether it be for the sake of hiring or just negotiating on cases, and also obviously judges too. And to come in as someone who's never done it, you got to learn the ropes, and you also got to kind of establish yourself because the judges are going to be like, who the heck are you?
All right, so let me ask you this question.
Okay.
It's a bit loaded question because I know what my opinion is.
Okay.
Let's say you need to hire a divorce attorney. All right. Do you want the bulldog or do you want the fox?
I think you need the perfect combination of both. You don't.
That's a cop out.
Well, if you want, you can look. This is what, and I've been asked this question. It's a good question. You want someone who's going to be aggressive, but use that aggression to get you in a position to settle your case.
Sure.
If you want a bulldog who's just going to run through every wall and create a disaster and your divorce turns into World War III, they're not really doing you any help.
Costing you more money.
They're costing you more money. Obviously, there's sensitive issues when it comes to your children.
The judges hate you.
Judges don't like you. And I just feel like you're not helping anybody. Yeah. There's a time and a place to be the biggest asshole out there, and we can all do that. But you got to do it for a purpose, and you got to do that to further your client's interest. Doing it just to create more and more issues and more messes and more fees and more stress and more time, you're not helping your clients. And clients may think that they want that at the beginning, but they soon find out that that's not necessarily the answer. Again, there's a time and a place for it. When you've got really bad people on the other side and you got to do what you got to do that. But at the end of the day, you're causing a ton of stress. You're incurring a lot of money in attorney's fees. And ultimately, if you're litigating everything, you're putting decisions like when you're going to see your children and how you're going to run your family in the hands of a stranger instead of deciding it yourself, which isn't really sensible.
So this is actually where I want to go because when it comes to like clients, when they come to you with those expectations of wanting a bulldog, I guess how do you set those expectations straight at the beginning so it doesn't become a problem later on? I'm
a straight shooter. I mean, I tell them how it is. I tell them how it should be. And if they don't like what I have to say, fine. But again, I tell them I could be the biggest asshole you've ever met. And if I have to be, I will. But I need to use that only when necessary if it's going to benefit you. Or if I do that, I like using the phrase like tactically aggressive. I can get super aggressive and hopefully use that to put your case in a position where it could settle on favorable terms instead of going to trial and, wasting tons of money and having the decision made by a stranger. So
no, I think that's the right way. I'm very like straight shooter with my clients too, and I most of them I think that they like that.
yes,
Some not so much.
but or either some they either like it or some are just stupid and don't realize that there are lawyers out there that are just going to tell them what they want to hear. I mean, I have people who are, come in and this person is going to pay alimony for the next 20 plus years. And I tell them that's going to happen. There's no way you're not paying alimony. Your wife hasn't worked in 20 years. You're making millions of dollars. You're paying alimony. I'm sorry. And, they can go to another lawyer who's going to tell them, yeah, I'll make sure you never pay alimony. They're full of shit.
Yep.
And, if the client wants to believe that, so be it. But there's tons of lawyers out there that overpromise, underdeliver, and at the end, the client's leaving pissed off and said, shit, I should have listened to the guy who told me the truth.
I agree. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
So if I'm doing the math right, you started your firm about, you said 18 years ago?
2009.
Okay, so that means you went about 7 years.
Yes.
Where you were you working for somebody?
I was working at another firm.
All right, tell me about that experience.
So I started working at this firm. It was my first job after passing the bar, family law firm. There were probably 5 or 6 lawyers. And, at first I started learning a ton and just kind of being a sponge for information. Started eventually bringing in cases of my own and, thinking about like partnership. Am I going to be offered partner? Do I want to be partner? And I became very like unhappy. I don't know if like my expectations were more, if I felt like I was underappreciated. Like I was coming in at 6 a.m. I was the last person to leave. I was outbilling any other associate there by hundreds of hours a year. And I just I wasn't feeling like I was appreciated. And not that I necessarily needed the pats on the back, but sometimes it feels good to show you're appreciated. I certainly wasn't getting shown appreciation through the money I was making. And I was never really put on a place where they said we're so lucky to have you. And again, not that I needed that, but sometimes you want to hear that. So you know that you might have a future. And eventually it just got to the point where I was coming home and I was pissed off and I just felt like this is not what I wanted. At the same time, I was kind of thinking about starting my own firm eventually, even though I wasn't ready yet. And then I'd say for a period of 2 years towards the end, I knew I was going to eventually leave and was really just kind of setting up myself for how I wanted my firm to be different from this firm, things I liked, didn't like, and almost just kind of taking mental notes. And then ultimately went off on my own. Took my law clerk with me, who's now the managing partner at my firm.
Oh, nice.
So she's been with me forever. And I used the knowledge, obviously, of how to practice law, but also what I liked and didn't like about how to run a firm. I knew I wanted to, tell my employees how much I appreciate them, reward them for the hard work they do, provide a better work environment than I had there, and really just create more of a good culture as opposed to just a bunch of people showing up to bill hours and, doing stuff as a team and outings and creating an environment where people wanted to come to work and enjoyed the people they work with. So I thought about all those things when I finally started my firm, and that was 17 years ago.
Yeah. What was the breaking point?
The breaking point, I think, unfortunately came down to money. Mm-hmm. I was always the one who had to ask them to talk about compensation. Something that is completely the opposite in my firm. We have reviews and I'm always ahead of the game when it comes to, rewarding people with raises or increases in compensation. And I just felt underappreciated. I was working my ass off so much more than anyone else there. They never once even really brought up partnership. Just we want you on the partner track, which I think is important to instill in young lawyers from the beginning, because again, that's what their goal is, to become a partner, to have the benefits of being a leader of the firm, and to instill that in them that you have what it takes. None of that stuff was ever addressed. And these are things I constantly talk to my young lawyers, my, lawyers who are kind of higher level associates, that, look, you're doing these things right. These are some things you need to work on. And that's the stuff you want to hear and learn from, that you have to talk about, I think, as a firm leader, and that stuff was just never discussed with me. So it just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, and I was out of there.
So do you have like a written plan for the associates about how they can get partnership and everything?
We have like guidelines
Yeah.
of things like we want them to like think about. It's all discretionary, but I mean, if people are doing the right things and are, showing loyalty to the firm, doing what they can to get in business, mentoring lawyers below them, treating the staff well, just really kind of buying into what we do, chances are they're going to become a partner. And they know that because I tell them that.
Do you ever look back at your experience with that other firm where you really didn't like the way they did something, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to do it differently over here at this firm, and then they ultimately were right?
Well, I think it's always different being the person who's writing the paycheck.
Right, yeah.
So, again, when you're working for someone else, you have a different mentality because, you don't really understand the other side. True. Where, there might be a payroll where you're not getting paid and everyone else has to get paid first before you. And, just like staying up at night, like making sure the rent's paid and expenses and a million things that, yes, you don't necessarily think about. It's more of like seeing yourself in a vacuum when you're the employee as opposed to the owner of the firm. So I understand that I grew to understand and appreciate more, but it didn't really override like how they treated me and, the lack of appreciation. But yes, that is wearing the owner hat is a completely different hat.
Completely, yeah.
Completely different.
In hindsight, are you happy that you left and started your own firm, or do you think you would have been more happy if they had offered you a partnership?
I would never have stayed, even if they offered me partner. I would not change a thing. I always knew I wanted to start my own firm. I knew I could do it better than them. I knew I could do it differently and better than most people in the business. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I think I would not be happy. That firm no longer exists.
Oh.
Eventually imploded.
Well,
so thankfully I didn't stay there.
You jumped off a sinking ship.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like it. But no, I love what I do. I love, looking out for my employees, being their biggest fan, and just kind of the role I've morphed into where I'm, building the business, working with clients on their cases, not in court as much, obviously, but just kind of focused on the growth of the firm.
What do you think has been the key to your success when it comes to the growth of the firm?
I just think it's hiring good people, it's marketing the right way, and it's rewarding your people, creating a good culture in your office, providing a good work environment. And I think those things, the most important are your people. Like I certainly would not be where I was, and the firm wouldn't be where the firm is without the people who work for me, their loyalty, their dedication. And I think it all starts with that. And obviously, good people translates into getting good results for your clients and doing good legal work, which at the end of the day is what we're here to do. True. So if you do all those things right, I think it's a recipe for success. And that's what I continue to try to obviously promote and grow. You
seem like you'd be like a really fun boss. You seem like you'd be someone to work with.
I'd say I'm considered a fun boss.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I'm always trying to make people smile, make people laugh. Obviously, when I got to put my foot down, I put my foot down. But it's finding that mix where, you want to be loved, but you also want to be feared a little bit. I think that's like a good recipe for a leader of a firm. But I don't want to be feared more than I'm loved. So I think I'm more on that side. But it is. I try to make it fun because it's a serious business. I mean, we go through a lot of emotional times and clients who are in really bad situations. And, especially with younger lawyers who are just starting to learn how to do it, it's very easy for them to get caught up in the cases and almost treat it like it's their own, where I kind of have to tell them sometimes, look, take a step back. This is not your family. We're here to do a job. Yes, we're here to kind of help our clients get through it. And I know how you can get attached to the situation and emotionally charged, but at the end of the day, our clients are paying us so we don't have the emotional connection to this stuff.
Have you ever thought about offering like therapy services to your associates or to your staff just to help so they don't hold on to all that?
Absolutely. I encourage every one of my employees, like, see a therapist.
Yeah.
And if, this job's getting too much for you, tell me. Like, take a breather. take a vacation, you know, we're more than generous with PTO, or like people just need like a day to get away. I'm all for it.
I wonder if you get like a company plan for like BetterHelp. I wonder if they even offer something like that.
That's a good question. I don't know.
It'd be an interesting thing to.
Yeah.
I think especially family law, it might be
yeah.
something to consider because, I mean, I've seen so many unhappy family law attorneys. It is.
Yes.
Because it's
hard.
It is hard. Like people are always fighting. They're always fighting.
It's always fighting. It's all the time. It's, you know, calls in the middle of the night, emails. Why aren't you responding to me? It's 5 in the morning.
Even when you do a great job, it's still a sad thing because this marriage has ended, or you don't see your kids all the time. I mean,
it's hard.
It's a really tough thing.
That kind of segues into why, you know, our firm, I think we're the only firm that has it. We have an in-house divorce coach.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So like 2 years ago, I've been on the look for this. I've always thought about this being like, again, being more of a progressive firm focused on like the client experience. You know, people come into a family law attorney for the first time, their life is in shambles, something crazy happened, or it's just been a long deterioration of their marriage, and they're a mess. And it's right into like, all right, we got to get your financial affidavit. I need all your tax returns, bank statements. And they're like, what the hell is going on?
And by the way, we're filing all of that online.
Right. So exactly. And people's heads are spinning, and, you know, they have to deal with the legal aspect of this, dealing with finances. Oftentimes, one of the spouses has never had to deal with finances in there at all. So they're hitting with their head spinning. There's so much going on. And the law, like the actual procedure of a divorce, and like the attorney-client relationship typically has zero concern outside of like conversations for like the mental health of the clients going through this. So I thought it would always be a good idea to bring in someone who can kind of be the liaison between us and the clients to deal with the mental and emotional toll this takes on our clients. So we hired an amazing divorce coach who's trained in domestic violence, really just kind of being almost like a therapist to the clients who are, you know, is available as part of our team. And it's a great resource for the clients because they want to talk to someone who has more experience than an attorney who doesn't have any experience in dealing with that part of it. And it's great for us because, you know, we can refer them to the client, and that person, our coach, can be kind of like the intermediary between us and the clients and say, hey, this client's really struggling. These are things to think about. So it's been great, and clients love talking to her. And I mean, it just takes a load off of our plate, and it's been a great add to the firm.
Let me tell you about an interesting concept. It's divorce coaching.
Okay.
I interviewed a guy last year. I'm drawing a blank. So sorry that I can't remember your name, but it was in New York last summer.
Okay.
Interviewed him. He's got his law firm, his family law firm, but he also has a separate divorce coaching company where. So imagine he does the exact same thing that your in-house coach does, but it's an external coach. So have you ever dealt with an external coach on one of your cases?
It's funny you say that because, well, she's part of our firm. Yeah. She's an employee of the firm. But she's also hireable by people that are not getting a divorce. So we've had tons of people through marketing her, and there's a couple like news briefs about this stuff, and have seen the concept that people have called her and say, hey, I just want to hire Christina. Her name's Christina Lindsay. Yep. I want to hire Christina just for coaching.
Is she a lawyer?
No, she's not an attorney.
Okay.
She's a certified divorce coach, domestic violence.
What does that mean, certified divorce coach, though?
There's a certification you can get for becoming a divorce coach. So really
who gives a certification?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Not the Supreme Court of any state.
Yeah.
It's a legitimate thing. But you get certified. I mean, by getting certified, it teaches you really the ins and outs of like the divorce process, discovery, litigation, a little bit about the law, and also kind of gives like the emotional teaching to kind of be that mental health coach for people going through divorce. I mean, it's an interesting concept. It really fits perfectly into the model, and I think eventually more and more firms will have it because it's such a great resource for the clients, and it's such a great resource for the lawyers. You know, I mean, we want to talk to our clients, but like to hear, you know, them crying on the phone for an hour isn't necessarily a great use of their time as the attorney, where, you know, the divorce coach can deal with that a lot better.
Do you get to bill for her time?
Yeah, we bill for her time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just at a reduced rate, I guess?
Yeah, it's a reduced rate. But
interesting.
She's great. And again, it's just, it's just a part of the process that gets lost. And I think clients, by having someone to talk to that's part of the team, it's not just like an outside therapist.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot easier because everyone's kind of working together. And, we offer like an initial free consultation for new clients with her. They don't have to talk to her, obviously, if they don't want, but a lot of them choose to just kind of check in with her every couple weeks for half hour, 20 minutes, and it just kind of keeps them feeling better and knowing that they could talk to someone about how they're feeling and also have that person be part of the team. So it works.
I think it's a really cool concept. I really like the idea of it.
It's great. Thank you.
You had mentioned culture a few times.
Yeah.
What makes for a good culture?
I think a good culture is where people like want to go to work. And again, by culture, I think culture has been lost a lot because of COVID, where no one really goes to the office anymore. While people were reducing their office space, I kind of doubled down and we just built out a huge 25,000.
It was a great time to get office space for cheap. It really was. Yeah.
Yes. So I really doubled down on that. I wanted to create a place where people would want to come to work. Just like fun. I say fun. It's a place to work where we've got, we have meditation rooms. We have a workout room. We have Zoom courtrooms. We have, collaborative spaces where people can sit down and talk. We have a lounge. We have a bar. We have all these things that kind of put a modern twist on the law firm, but also create a place where people want to go and meet. And then the other part of culture is, look, not everyone has to be best friends who you work with, but if you can create a place where, people gain some sort of camaraderie and you do things as a group and, you kind of have this space where you can do things and get to like know each other better. I think that ultimately creates a culture when, you have good people, you have good leaders, you have good, young employees that are being taught, the values you value. That creates a good culture.
Hopefully, well, it depends on what you say to this. It doesn't matter if your associates are listening or not, but when it comes to like everything that you kind of built in, I guess the skeptic side of me says, well, maybe that you did it to keep people in the office longer. I from getting talked to you, I don't get that that's the type of person you are.
We're not a sweatshop.
Yeah, for the people that say that, he just does that just to keep people at the office longer, what do you say to that?
It's not true.
Yeah.
Because, we don't have crazy billable hour requirements. We have a great promotion of work-life balance. I just want a good place for people to come to the office. They don't have to stay there all night. They don't have to come in at the crack of dawn. But just a place where they look forward to coming to work every day. And we offer, obviously, there's work from home components too, so they're not at the office every day, all day. But it's definitely not to keep them there long hours. Obviously, look, when you're a lawyer, sometimes you got to work longer than you want to, and you got to get shit done. But that's with any job, as it should be. We just want to provide them the right space to work in.
I have kind of a funny question, because I got this question the other day about, I worked for a firm early on, injury firm, and it was like a 4 o'clock rule where at 4 o'clock we could have beer at our desk,
That's
right?
Great.
And it was like the fridge was stocked full of beer, right? But one of our associates, I was telling the story about it, and one of our associates said, well, like, then you drive home? And I was like, as an injury lawyer, I was like, oh, I said, well, like, none of us ever drove home like drunk or anything, but it's an interesting question.
Right, like, promoting the drinking and then they're getting in the car.
So have you ever been, because it's funny, as an injury lawyer, I'd never thought about that. We were an injury firm. And so do you ever worry about that?
We usually allow the bar to be open on certain occasions. It's usually not just like a free for all. Look, if someone wanted to meet up with a couple lawyers in the office and have a beer or two, I'm all for it. At the end of the day, I get what you're saying, but you got to be a responsible adult. We're not promoting breaking of the law here.
Right.
So, but that's especially as an injury lawyer, right?
Well, it's funny. It never occurred to me. I'm like, oh, that's a great question. But we never took it too far.
Right.
Okay, so you have a managing partner.
Yeah.
That was the former law clerk at your previous firm.
Yeah.
At what point did you decide to promote her, or what's it?
Melissa.
Melissa. Yeah.
She's just been the glue of the firm. She's an amazing attorney. She's an amazing person to have by my side.
Well, was that part of the plan when you left, or what?
No. Well, the plan. She was a law clerk, so she had literally just started working for me when I was at the old firm, like a month before.
You liked her that much?
Well,
you took her with you?
Well, I said first of all, I had been begging my old firm to please just give me a law clerk. That's how hard. Like, can I please have someone that will do something? I was doing everything. There was no one to help me with anything.
Right.
So finally, they agreed to give me a law clerk. I was able to hire her. I could tell she was great.
Did you Jerry Maguire it? Who's coming with me?
I was just gonna. That's 100% the moment.
Funny.
It was her. She was the only person that would come with me. Meanwhile, they knew that she was good because you could just tell she had that it factor. She was a hard worker. She got the concepts. And I said to her, look, I understand if you want to stay. This is like an established law firm, and I'm about to go start my firm in some crappy little office, and I understand if you don't want to come with me. I would love to have you. So if you're interested, I would love to have you come with me. It's just me. I'm going to rely on you for a lot. She's like, I'm with you.
Yeah.
And she came with me, and a year later, she passed the bar. She was the first associate. And, I mean, here we are with over 20 lawyers, and she's just been such an integral part of the growth. She's such an amazing attorney. I mean, any law firm in who does family law in all of Illinois would want her in 2 seconds. And she's great when it comes to management of the firm, when it comes to bringing in business, mentoring, just kind of setting the tone for how you should do things. She does it the right way. And that's why she's earned the title. What
does she do that you don't do?
She's more of the day-to-day management of everything. She's such a control freak in a good way. I'm sorry, Melissa. But she wants control of everything. So, like, whether I want to take things off her plate or not, she's always like, I want to do. She's doing tasks that she was doing when, she was the only person there that she just doesn't want to let go of. And again, I call her my work wife. Like, she's literally like the constant in my career. Mm-hmm. And we have, had amazing people join on, but just really well respected, does things the right way. I mean, whether it be judges, attorneys, clients, everybody loves her. So she does the day-to-day management of the firm, and, making sure people's caseloads are the same, kind of looking at hours and the day-to-day stuff. She's more in the trenches while I'm kind of more of like the CEO, let's grow the business kind of thing.
What is your title? Do you have a title?
I think I don't know. I don't know what my owner, attorney.
Who gets final say on an issue?
Like a legal issue?
Anything.
Well, I do all the business stuff.
Okay.
So it really, the buck stops with me there. When it comes to like, how we run the firm or technology we want to adopt or, billable hours, that's something like we put out there for the partners to chime in on, and we try to have discussions. We have different committees that we have throughout the firm that we use to kind of just get everybody involved. So we want to hear everyone's voice, sure, at least from the partner level up. And
so does she handle more of the legal operations side of things, and you will handle more?
Yeah, I'm involved in that too. It's kind of an interesting setup. Yes, I'm aware of all the new clients coming in. I'm looking more at like bottom line stuff, mm-hmm, and financial stuff, which doesn't really go to other people. But management of people, hiring, that stuff I bring Melissa in on, and then a lot of the partners too. I'm always asking in like partner meetings, like, do we need to be targeting a certain area, a certain position? How's everyone's workload? Do we need to think about getting more people? Stuff like that.
When it comes to the partnership, do they have an ownership stake in the firm?
No, they don't. They're partners, but no equity.
Will you ever give up equity?
I don't know. It's not something I would want to talk about.
Okay, no, that's fair.
I would love to give up equity at some point. Yes. Yeah. I think I would. Just the timing's got to be right. Like, yeah. I want to leave the firm to somebody, and I think no better people than the people who have worked their ass off for me and the firm. And so ultimately, that's the plan. I just got to figure out how to do that.
Well, and there's actually one of the questions I was going to ask you. Like, what happens? Like, let's say you walk outside. I'm a pilot, so I always make the joke. If I got in a plane crash, what would happen to the firm? Like, so if you got hit by a bus, like, what would happen?
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming Melissa would step in and figure it out, but I need to be better about that.
Yeah,
I do.
I agree. Come on, Melissa, get some equity here. Let's get you some equity.
Hey, take this off. I would love Melissa. We'll get equity in time. I promise that.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's one. Like, I think it's one of those really sticky topics for a lot of people. And I always say I'm never giving up equity. I'm just never going to give up equity.
Well, I think it sounds attractive to people to get get equity, but they don't understand what that's involved. It's
Exactly
not all,
right.
It's not all like
It's not always profit.
it's not always profit. It's not always more money. It's not always less. I mean, it's more responsibility.
Yep.
So I think look, as much as one day I would like to obviously give up equity and give it to these people, they need to understand, one, there's a cost to that. And two, like, it's not all sunshine and rainbows running a law firm. Like, there's nights where you're up all night thinking about stuff and you're tossing and turning in bed. And, they work their ass off. They get their salary no matter what. They get their commissions on cases they originate. They get their bonuses, and they don't have to think about all that stuff.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, but I can understand why people want it, but sometimes people want things that they don't understand that, that strings attached to.
I mean, I've heard horror stories where, like partnerships, they come together, have an emergency meeting. Hey, they do an owner's call. We're like, hey, we need you to give
money.
us $50,000.
Oh,
we have to keep the firm going.
That's
if
reality.
You don't, I mean, that's one of those things where.
Right. Taking money out of your own money to pay for stuff for the firm.
Exactly right.
That's not on people's radars.
No, not at all. So like, getting equity is not always what you think it is.
No. Oh, there's a ton of, and, exposure, liability. I mean, if you get sued by some lunatic client, I mean, who's paying for that? Not that there was a mistake made, but deductibles and premiums on malpractice insurance and rent and all that stuff. It's a lot.
There's a lot of crazy
insurance
clients.
itself, just like health insurance, 401k, profit sharing. I mean, you name it.
Yes.
These are all things they don't think about. They like getting the money, but they're not necessarily sure they'd like paying the money.
I've heard that family law and med mal insurance is the most expensive. Do you know if that's right?
And mine isn't. In 22 years, it's funny.
Not med mal. I'm sorry, legal malpractice insurance.
In 24 years, I was sued by one client the first 15 years, by a crazy pro se litigant. It was dismissed. In the last year, I was sued by two other crazy clients. Both claims were dismissed. It's weird, in the last year, but I mean, thankfully, we've done good work and we've done nothing to screw anything up.
That's ChatGPT is what that is. That's ChatGPT. That's what it is. That's exactly what that is. Yes.
It probably is.
Yeah.
And, but I mean, there's people in my business that have gotten really burned and, made major mistakes, and that really jacks your premiums up. I think since I've been able to, go unscathed without any claims against me for so long, but yeah, I could see why. I mean, first of all, it's a very emotional area of the law.
Tied,
so
yes.
like if people get, they think they got the short end of the stick, let's sue somebody.
I really respect family law attorneys because you will cover so many different areas.
Oh my God.
You have estate planning, you have the family law part of it, you got torts wrapped
Real
into
estate,
it,
taxes, all
You've
that
got
stuff.
everything wrapped into it, which is
you got to
really
learn
hard.
a lot of stuff, which is why the learning curve for young lawyers in family law is tough. Because, a lot of these things you can learn just through experience, like mortgages, taxes, credit cards, things that, you would experience. Kids, how to deal with children, being a parent. But when you're a young lawyer and you're fresh out of law school, you probably don't own any property. You probably really don't have any income tax filings. You're probably not married. You don't have kids. So all these things are really fresh and new concepts to young lawyers, which they're immediately immersed into. Where obviously as you get life experience, you just kind of learn about these things on your own too. So
what do you think you learned from your dad about practicing?
That I didn't want to do criminal law?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't see him practice a ton. I obviously saw him in court a few times, but
what was that like?
It's stressful. It's just super stressful.
Yeah.
Like I remember doing like a murder trial and like he was super nervous about it. It's just, I don't know. Like I get why obviously, defendants, need good counsel, but a lot of times you're dealing with some bad people. Not that I don't deal with bad people, because I deal with bad people too, but there's a lot on the line when it comes to people's freedom. And, if you just, oftentimes you can be representing people that are not good people. That always concerned like my mom but.
Oh, I bet that was like a major concern. Yeah, like it was interesting because like I was way more stressed for criminal trials than I was for injury trials because like injury trials, it's money.
It's money.
But like the criminal trials, like, the guy is either walking out that door or going out that door, and those, it's it's one of those things where it's,
Oh,
if they're going through that
nerve-wracking.
door, that's a problem, you know, especially like you wonder, like, are they interested? Like, sometimes you're like, man, I don't know the
Right.
answer, because it is a little murky.
You never really know.
So
right.
that's
And
where,
like, God
damn.
forbid they're convicted and didn't do it. Then it's even more on your conscience.
Yes.
Like, just the conscious part of it.
Yeah. I wonder, like, things seem to be going really well for you, right? It seems really good. And like, was there ever a time in owning the firm where you were like, oh, I don't know if we're going to make it? Like,
Yeah, like every day.
Yeah,
Every day, like, oh my God, I can't handle this. No, I mean, it's like, I you know what? I think if you don't have that, like, holy shit mentality, that holds you back. I think the fear of failure is what motivates me. And like, that just makes you, get up and start working at 5 a.m, or always have work on your mind, whether it's good, for better, or for worse. I think to be a successful business owner, you always have to have that, like, shit, this place is going under mentality. If you think everything's kind of smooth and you just, sit back and kick your feet up, that's when you take things for granted and things can start to turn. So I always want to be working. That's just my mentality. I want my employees to know that I'm always working. So I set a good example. And I think that ultimately just leads to success, that you never feel like you're satisfied, and there's always more to be done.
well, you took on salary right away. And I wonder, like, was there a time early on where you're like, I got to go get another job?
I was freaking out. When I started my firm, it was 2009, horrible recession.
Oh, that was the, like, I
literally,
graduated in
the worst
2010.
time.
Yeah, that was
My
awful.
second daughter was about to be born. I mean, a lot of people doubted the timing of it. I just couldn't take it anymore. And, I freaked out. I'm like, how am I was at the time, it was only paying a law clerk. So it was like an hourly, but soon.
Still, though.
How's this? Every time, even to this day, that I hire someone new, I worry about being able to pay them.
Completely, yeah.
And it goes back to, if you don't have that mindset that you got to work that much harder to make sure, everyone's taken care of. But yeah, the first associate you hire and the salary, and then I remember, like, the feeling like, oh my God, can I afford a paralegal? Can I afford another associate? How the hell am I going to do all this?
Completely.
And, 17 and a half years later, it's the same thing.
Yeah, interesting. That's
Yeah.
interesting. What advice would you give yourself? Let's say you were to go back to 18 years ago when you started. Like, what advice would you have given yourself? Like, if you could go back to 2009, is that what you said?
Yeah, 2009.
So it's 2009, and what advice would you give yourself?
I would just continue. You know what? I've been asked this question. I really would not do that much different.
Yeah.
I think I've made mistakes along the way, clearly, whether it be through hires I've made or, contracts I've got in marketing that kind of, handcuffed me for a while. But I mean, I think that's part of everything. You got to take risks, calculated risks, not reckless risks. But I mean, any business owner has had some, trials and tribulations, and that's part of learning from your mistakes. It's part of, learning about, obviously, like, life experiences and how to treat employees, how to say no, I think, is a big skill to learn, because I think, at younger ages, it becomes harder to say no to things, and you kind of get stuck doing things you don't necessarily want to do, and it clogs up your schedule. But I think all these things are things that you have to learn, trial and error, and I think that makes you successful in the end.
What's something you think you should stop doing that you're still doing?
Taking calls at like 10:30, 11 at night.
Are you out of your mind?
I know, I'm nuts.
Why? Do
I don't
your
know.
clients have your cell phone?
Yes.
Wow.
I'm probably the only lawyer in my office who gives their cell phone to every client. I don't know why. I just, like, I don't know any differently. And, like, I probably have some form of ADD where I'm just like, everything's going a mile a minute. So, like, I don't know if I'm, like, watching TV and a client texts me, they respond. I mean, I should set more boundaries. I mean, this happened last night. I was talking to a client at 10:30. I'm like, thinking in my head, why the hell are you calling me right now? But I'm like, hey, what's going on?
It's interesting because, like, early on, I was a firm believer that's what you got to do. Like, you put in the time, and I did it. I mean, I did it.
I don't think it's right. I just think that's part of the craziness in me. Go ahead.
Well, I was able to, like, eventually, like, okay, I got to turn it off. Like, it's turned it off, and I was able to. And I honestly, I couldn't tell you why I was, but I was. I just wonder why. Why do you think you haven't been able to turn it off?
I don't know. I just think that's how my brain's wired. Like, I've never turned it off when it comes to anything, and that's to a fault. Like, I definitely have problem like putting my phone down.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping it's something that I could eventually like learn as I like get older to just really be able to do, because I don't think it's healthy.
What do you think maybe you get a thrill out of it?
I think it's part of some sort of undiagnosed ADD where I just need to be doing something.
Sure.
But the phone is a killer, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason for me to be responding to text calls or emails that are not, an emergency after 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
But I also think maybe that's what, drives the success of the firm. And again, I can't set the same expectations of my employees because that's just not right. But sometimes, whether it's right or wrong, I find myself like judging what my standards are, thinking others should have them when it's not. I mean, I can't expect everyone, to just be picking up the phone at 9 o'clock to talk to a client. And again, the other times where you got to work late and do that, sure. But, not everyone's crazy like me either.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've had where we've hired attorneys, and I've had to fight that urge to have the same expectations of our attorneys. Like, you need to be willing to bend over backwards for people. And we've hired attorneys that usually it's former solos, and they've got the whole expectations of staff that are really unreasonable.
Right.
And so you have to really ratchet that back. Like, you don't text a freaking paralegal at 10:30 at night because you need something.
Right.
Don't do that. That's a big problem.
That's a good point, because I know there are we've had people come from other firms where they rely so much on paralegals, admins, whatever, where they think they do everything for them. And I don't think that's right either.
No.
We've had to kind of bring them down to earth and just say, hey, I don't know how things worked over there, but we have strict boundaries here, and these are things that you're not to do.
Well, sometimes it's slower.
The
firm I worked for, like, it was so weird.
Right.
You would generate the document, but then an assistant had to print it out and then stick it out on a thing, and then you have to walk up and sign it instead of me just printing it right here. I was like, why do you have to do?
Point? Makes no sense.
How is this any faster?
Yeah. No, I've always been of that mentality. I'd rather just do it myself and be done with it. But I think people just get taught that you should rely on people, and there has to be those boundaries, especially for the support staff. No one needs to be treated better than those people, I think, because those are like the nuts and bolts of the firm, and I make sure that they're always treated as good as anybody.
All right, for my last question.
Okay.
What do you want from your firm? Like, what is the thing that you're hoping for at the end of the road? Whenever you're hanging it up, like, what is it that you're wanting?
I just want to provide a good career for the people that work for me. I want them to say, I love the place I work. I've grown as a lawyer. I've grown as a person. I've grown financially. I've become financially, sufficient and built like a nice nest egg for me and my family. Like, me seeing success of the people that work for me is the most fulfilling, more than the success of my own. So if I can provide the vehicle for my employees, to reach success levels that, perhaps they never even dreamed of, that makes me beyond happy.
I like the answer. Thanks, John.